couple minutes past 9 o'clock, so I'm gonna call the July 7th, 2026 meeting of the McLeod County Board of Commissioners to order. Today we're honored to have a GSL here to start with a reading of the Declaration of Independence. You guys can step to the mic and give us your name maybe before you start.
So as Doug said, we're from the Glencoe Silver Lake FFA. I'm Charlie Nelson.
I'm Emma Olson.
And I'm Lily Brillia.
And we'll get to reading. In Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been a patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object to the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidably to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly, for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be neglected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and the convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary power. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices, and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices, and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislators. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretend legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by mock trial, for punishment of any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for deriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is, at this time, transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst them, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for the redress in the most humblest terms. Our repeated petitions have only been answered by a repeated jury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend the unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We've reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We've appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondences. They have been too deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in wars, in peace, friends. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America and General Congress assembled, appealing to the supreme justice of the world that is the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name of the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connections between them and the great state of Britain ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, and establish commerce, and to all other acts and things which independent states may have the right to do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor.
And the signers, first from Georgia, Button Gwinnett, Lyman Hall, and George Walton. From North Carolina, William Hooper, Joseph Hughes, and John Penn. From South Carolina, Edward Rutledge, Thomas Hayward Jr., Thomas Lynch Jr., and Arthur Middleton. From Massachusetts, John Hancock. From Maryland, Samuel Chase, William Paca, Thomas Stone, and Charles Carroll of Carrollton.
Virginia: George Wythe, Richard Henry Lee, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Harrison, Thomas Nelson Jr., Francis Lightfoot Lee, Carter Braxton. Pennsylvania: Robert Morris, Benjamin Rush, Benjamin Franklin, John Morton, George Clymer, James Smith, George Taylor, James Wilson, George Ross. Delaware: Caesar Rodney, George Reed, Thomas McKean. New York: William Floyd, Philip Livingston, Francis Lewis, Lewis Morris.
New Jersey: Richard Stockton, John Witherspoon, Francis Hopkinson, John Hart, Abraham Clark. New Hampshire: Josiah Bartlett, William Whipple. Massachusetts: Samuel Adams, John Adams, Robert Street Payne, Elbridge Gerry. Rhode Island: Stephen Hopkins, William Ellery. Connecticut: Roger Sherman, Samuel Huntington, William Williams, Oliver Walcott. New Hampshire: Matthew Thornton.
Thank you, and I'm gonna just add a little bit here for anybody that's wondered what happened to these signers. Five signers were captured by the British as traitors and tortured before they died. 12 had their homes ransacked and burned. 2 lost their sons in the Revolutionary Army. Another had 2 sons captured. 9 of the 56 fought and died from wounds and hardships of the Revolutionary War. What kind of men were they? 24 were lawyers and jurists. 11 were merchants. 9 were farmers and large plantation owners, men of means, well-educated, but they signed the Declaration of Independence knowing full well that the penalty would be death if they were captured. They signed and they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Carter Braxton of Virginia, a wealthy planter trader, saw his ship swept from the seas by the British Navy. He sold his home and properties to pay his debts and died in rags. Thomas McKean was so hounded by the British that he was forced to move his family almost constantly. He served in the Congress without pay, and his family was kept in hiding. His possessions were taken from him, and poverty was his reward. Vandals or soldiers or both located the properties of Ellery, Clymer, Hall, Wilson, Grinnell, Hallward, Rutledge, and Middleton. At the Battle of Youngstown, Thomas Nelson Jr. noted that the British General Cornwallis was taken over by the Nelson home, had taken over the Nelson home for headquarters. The owners quietly urged General George Washington to open fire, which was done. The home was destroyed and Nelson died bankrupt. Francis Lewis had his home and property destroyed. The enemy jailed his wife, and they died within a few months. John Hart was driven from his wife's bedside, while she was dying. Their 13 children fled for their lives. His fields and his Crest Mill was laid in waste. For more than a year, he lived in forests and caves, returning home after the war to find his wife dead, his children vanished. A few weeks later, he died from exhaustion and a broken heart. Norris and Livingston suffered similar fates. Such was the stories and sacrifices of the American Revolution. These were not wild-eyed, rabble-rouser ruffians. They were soft-hearted men of means and education. They had security, but they valued their liberty more. Standing tall, straight, and unwavering, they pledged for the support of this declaration from a firm reliance on the protection of the living providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor. I kind of tear up when I read this, so it's kind of hard to see all the words, but it's our 250th anniversary, and I am just so proud and even honored that we have made it this far. We're the only country that has survived this many years. And again, I thank GSL for helping us out in this reading. And now I would ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could the three of you come up here for a photo with the commissioners? I hadn't thought of that before, I'm sorry. Yeah, come right up. Oh, sorry, I didn't know what you meant. Thank you again. Oh, thanks. That's okay, Chuck. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, going into our agenda, a consideration of agenda items.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Wishes of the board.
Mr. Chair, move agenda.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Wishes of the board. Motion made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, Pact for Families. Sarah. Good morning.
Good morning. I am Sarah Vonderhaar, Executive Director at PAC for Families, and I just want to thank you for the opportunity to provide a little update about what is happening with PACT and across the region and here in McLeod County. PACT was established about 30 years ago as a children's mental health collaborative, serving Candy, Ohio, McLeod, Meeker, Renville, and Yellow Medicine counties. Our role has never really been to duplicate services already available in our communities, but rather to strengthen collaboration, identify gaps, coordinate resources, and bring additional state and federal funds into the region to better support children, youth, and families. Today I have a brief booklet, which you should have a copy of. I'm not going to go through everything, every page, but I do want to kind of go through and highlight some of the things that have been happening. The first page, if you want to go to the first page, talks about our programs. Our programming has been pretty consistent since I took this role almost 4 years ago. We have our transition services program, which serve youth 14 to 25, providing skill-based services to help them be successful as they're transitioning into adulthood. We had our Partnership for Success grant, which was a substance use prevention grant in Renville, Yellow Medicine, and Candy, Ohio counties. That grant did end in 2025. We have our family support and our cultural outreach support initiatives, as well as our new Communities that Care initiative that started in 2025. At the bottom, it just talks a little bit about eligibility for our 2 transition programs, but most of our programming is available to anyone within the 5-county region. The next page talks a little bit about service delivery right here in McLeod County. So in 2025, we did serve 27 youth, 8 families in McLeod County, and we also coordinated 12 weighted blanket referrals to support children experience anxiety and emotional regulation challenges. Our work really extends well beyond those direct services by strengthening collaboration among schools, county agencies, behavioral health providers, public health, and community organizations. Through 2025, we did invest $126,000 in workforce development, providing training and trauma-informed care, youth mental health, prevention, and family-centered approaches that strengthen the capacity of our professionals throughout the region. Every time that we can strengthen the skills of local professionals, we can really expand our opportunity for communities to better support children, youth, and families. So this is kind of an exciting thing. We have never really tracked how much money we put into professional development across the region. And this year, when I pulled all of those numbers together, I thought that was a nice addition to the work that we've been doing across the region. Page 4 talks about some of the tailored supports and funding provided directly here in McLeod County. We put out $18,000 of discretionary grants for projects throughout McLeod County with an anticipated reach of nearly 3,000 youth, parents, and community members. I'm not going to talk about each individual project, but the projects did focus on youth engagement development, parent and family support, school-based social and emotional learning, community-wide education and prevention efforts. Some of the examples, there was a camp kindergarten that was done to prepare kindergarten students for successful transition from preschool, helped to reduce anxiety, building confidence, helping children become more comfortable with school routines. So that was a summer program that was held. Character Strong is running in the Hutchinson School District, and that was directly funded through PACT. Glencoe Silver Lakes schools have an emotional wellness project and mental health support to expand calming spaces in their classrooms, in their counselors' rooms, excuse me. And then we also have Parents Inspired received some funding for sensory-friendly movies for kids and families who can't normally go to the movies. They turn the lights up and the sound down, and then they just have a nice opportunity to experience a regular movie out in the movie theater. So that's kind of a neat little project. And then GSL Schools is also doing a book study on the anxious generation, which I think has been really meaningful for parents. Hutchinson School in 2026 will have a lunch and learn to support substance use prevention, which is an exciting new opportunity here in McLeod County. And McLeod County Health and Human Services is creating a portable hidden in plain sight simulation display that will travel throughout the county through some funds, not only from PACT, but with some of the opioid or cannabis dollars, I believe. So that's kind of an exciting project also. Along with that, earlier this year, we launched an initiative in response to our regional planning meeting that happens in the fall. And in January, we did start a program to expand programming to schools. We realized that there was a little bit of a gap in the way that we're communicating and engaging with our school districts. So in January, we started our regional school mental health initiative that directly supports McLeod County schools too. There's a little bit of information in there about that initiative. And then the next page goes right into some of our Minnesota student survey data. It remains pretty relatively low compared to historical trends with the substance use rates across the 5 counties. We're continuing to see long-term declines in alcohol, tobacco, and marijuana use across southwest Minnesota, while vaping continues to remain an area requiring continued education attention. These trends remind us that prevention work, when communities stay engaged over time, these trends remind us that prevention works, but only when communities continue working together over time to provide that education, youth engagement, and strong partnerships. The SHARE survey information is also highlighted on this page. Unfortunately, we had no schools participate in our SHARE survey from McLeod County or Meeker County, and there was only one school that participated in the Minnesota student survey. Without participation in these surveys, it becomes really difficult for us to understand what youth are experiencing and tailor prevention efforts accordingly. One of our priorities moving forward with the Regional School Mental Health Initiative is to engage schools more effectively and help raise the participation rates of those surveys so that we don't have such a data desert in Meeker and McLeod counties. The Regional School Mental Health Initiative has really provided some good opportunities to strengthen those relationships with school districts, and we've really seen more schools come to the table, and we've also seen some shared ownership from our public health and family services departments across the 5 counties in helping with that outreach, and I think it's been a good move, and we're seeing a lot of progress over the last 6 months, so that's kind of an exciting thing too. Page 7 talks about adverse and benevolent childhood experiences. Really shifts the conversation from substance use to something that really influences nearly every youth and family across our service region. Many of you are probably familiar with adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. They are stressful or traumatic experiences that can increase the risk of behavioral challenges, chronic disease, and other negative outcomes in life. Sorry, I gotta turn my page. The data reminds us that many young people continue to experience these adversities, reinforcing the importance of the early intervention, supportive relationships, and strong community systems that we're building here in McLeod County. Equally important are some of those benevolent childhood experiences, or BCEs, and these are positive experiences that help children build resilience even when they have experienced some of those adversities. Some of those things might be having a trusted adult in their life, or feeling connected at school, participating in meaningful activities, and having supportive friendships, and feeling safe and valued all serve as powerful protective factors. Rather than simply responding after problems occur, we have a new initiative called the Communities That Care, which is a state-funded 5-year program that is working alongside schools, families, and public health and community organizations to really intentionally create environments where children have more positive experiences, opportunities, and connections that can build resilience throughout their lives. This is reflected here in the work that we're doing in McLeod County. And the Communities That Care implementation continues to build momentum, that school engagement that we've been talking about, and seeing that gap in, and working with our public health and county agencies, behavioral health providers, community organizations, and that work continues to grow. We're moving into year 2 of that now this month, and we just recently hired a new coordinator, so I'm excited to see how that work progresses over the next 4 years. Ultimately, the goal of that project is to reduce risk factors for substance use and to intentionally increase those positive experiences within the communities. So that is kind of an exciting thing happening as well. PACT is also continuing to actively pursue new funding opportunities that bring additional prevention dollars into the region. We're continually looking for ways to expand supports for children, youth, and families without increasing burdens on local communities. Most recently, we submitted a proposal for Minnesota's Rural Health Transformation Project, part of the Children's Mental Health Initiative, which will strengthen coordinated systems of care, improve referral pathways, and expand early intervention services across the 5-county region. One thing that is really exciting about this is that we've been doing system of care work through SAMHSA for the last 5 to 7 years, and now we're going to have an opportunity to have some state funding, hopefully funding, if funding comes through. We'll have the opportunity to use some state funding to really expand that work a little bit more. And then right now, we are also working on 2 SAMHSA grants. Last year when I was here, I probably mentioned the 2 that we were applying for to expand our substance use program, the Partnership for Success grant. We were not funded last year, but we are resubmitting, and hopefully that will be submitted tomorrow. 2 proposals that will expand regional substance use prevention into all 5 counties. The next page talks about the regional investment and return on prevention. And I think that this page talks, in addition to the local discretionary funding invested in McLeod County, we also coordinated nearly $2.8 million in regional investments during 2025 through a combination of federal, state, local, collaborative, and partner funding. So approximately 91% of those collaborative expenditures directly support prevention, early intervention, youth services, and family support activities, with the remaining funds supporting the infrastructure necessary to coordinate the efforts across the 5 counties. One thing that I'm particularly proud of at PACT is that we continue to work to bring outside resources into our communities by securing competitive state and federal grants. We're able to expand prevention work, strengthen those local partnerships, and provide additional supports for children and families without placing that additional burden on our county levy dollars. National research also continues to demonstrate that effective prevention programs can return investments, approximately $7 to $18 for every dollar invested, through long-term costs and improved outcomes for youth and families. So the message I hope to leave today is simple. When we invest upstream, which we're doing, children really receive help earlier, families are better supported, schools have stronger partnerships, and communities reduce the need for more costly interventions later. The work might not be highly visible in the day-to-day things that you're seeing in your communities, but it is there, kind of working in the backgrounds as we continue to support families through some of our family liaison programs, our Connecting Families support groups, and our transition services, as well as our prevention work. So yeah, I'm just happy to share all of those updates, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions for Sarah from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Smalls.
Yeah, not necessarily a question for Sarah, but at least a little bit of a commentary wrap-up from me. I am new to PACT. I started serving on the PACT Joint Powers Board at the beginning of the year. So I'm still learning, and I have a lot to learn about what PACT can do in our county and in our schools. But my takeaway from Sarah's address that she gave us this morning is that we're very local. We're talking about 5 counties here. We're talking about McLeod, Meeker, Candy, Ojai, Renville, and Yellow Medicine counties. So we're looking at, a local effect in our schools. And Sarah mentioned it just a couple minutes ago, how, maybe we don't have a lot of money to work with, but boots on the ground in our schools, it's about prevention until we get to crisis. So those were the 2 takeaways that I have. And when I saw that Sarah was on our agenda, I was excited that she was coming in and giving us her annual report. And I appreciate, the work that they do, especially in our communities and in our schools. Thanks for coming in, Sarah.
Yeah, you bet. One of the things that I think is really exciting as I've come here, now this is my 3rd time, I believe. The first time I came, I was a little bit leery to share the information about the discretionary grants because there wasn't much coming into McLeod County. But over the past 3 years, we've seen an increase in how our discretionary funds are being dispersed across the 5 counties. And $18,000 of our $100,000 budget went directly here to McLeod County. So I think that it's exciting to know that people are understanding that those collaborative dollars are there to support local prevention efforts, and that we're seeing, I think this year we'll reach our $100,000 budget and expend all of our discretionary dollars. So that's kind of exciting. And with the Regional School Mental Health Initiative, we added an additional $30,000 to support school interventions. So there's an additional $30,000 available for school districts across the 5 counties to support early intervention prevention. So kind of exciting. So thanks for letting me come and share that with you.
Well, as I'm going through the document, I just have a few questions.
Yeah.
So when we did the Southwest, Region Youth Substance Use Trend, that
Yes.
chart, I noticed that it was grades 8, 9, and 11.
Yes.
Okay, and then when I flipped back and I went through the number of benevolent childhood experiences reported, it was 7th, 9th, and 11th. So every other year there, but here, it's like we missed 10th. And I'm like, okay, how does this work and why?
Yep. So there's 2 different surveys. This first page, the Southwest Minnesota Regional data, is from the Minnesota Student Survey. And that survey is done every 3 years, I believe. And they do 8th, 9th, and 11th graders. And the next page, the PACT Share Survey, is done through PACT for Families, and that survey is done every 2 years. And then we stick with the 7th, 9th, and 11th graders. So there's a little bit of a difference, but ultimately, the kids are followed through the survey, so that it kind of sticks with the grades, so that we can see data trends for that grade as they progress through school. A little confusing.
I just wanted to be, I wanted to understand it.
Yes, and for the Southwest Minnesota regional data, I want you to be very careful about how you look at that data, because this is not probably what McLeod County data would look like,
Correct.
but we don't have any. So we're sticking with regional data and just sharing that with the whole region. And hopefully the next round of surveys will have a little bit better participation. But school districts have communicated that there's survey fatigue and that there's other reasons that they're not taking surveys right now. So we have to work with the school districts to really help understand what they need and how we can support them better, so that we can get that data to inform our prevention work.
Okay, I have one more.
Yeah.
So under that youth substance trend, okay, again, the regional, there was a track of tobacco, e-cigarettes, everybody knows what that is. Alcohol, we know what that is. Cannabis, we know what that is. But when it came to synthetic marijuana, I'm naive, so I was like, what is that?
Sure. So synthetic marijuana can be anything from edibles, or they have what's called dabs. That would be a synthetic, and those are high potency marijuanas that are chemically made. So that is what those are. And
Thank you.
You're welcome. We will see probably some increase in more marijuana use and the synthetic marijuana with the legalization changes that occurred a couple years ago. So we'll continue to monitor that.
Anything else from the board?
Mr. Chair, I do have one
Go
thing.
ahead.
So, hello, Sarah.
Hello.
I was a part of that committee last year, and I'm glad to hear that you're getting better school participation. I know that that was an issue, and how to bring them in, because there are a lot of great resources. The one takeaway I have is the big meeting in Wilmer, when the people came out and we had to do like the feather. We had to balance the feather and whatever. But I believe that there was a mother and a daughter at that meeting that gave kind of a little bit of a testimony on how PACT helped their family so greatly that she didn't know what she would have done had she not had PACT. And she was sitting on the advisory committee.
Yes.
So they have a parent that sits on that as well. So that's really nice to get the parent side, as that they all work together to make this better for the 5 counties. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your report.
Thank you.
Look forward.
There is also an annual report there that was released in March, so gives you a little bit more of a description of some of the other programs. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at any time.
Well, I know that between mental health and substance abuse, and you commented on not doubling up services, but it takes all the services together to combat. I mean, it's definitely an issue
Yes.
that needs all the help it can get, so thank you again. Have a
Thank you
nice
for your support. You guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Veteran Services Grant. Good morning, nice to see you.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I had the honor and privilege of representing McLeod County out in Reno, Nevada for our National Association of County Veteran Service Officers annual conference. And yeah, I know what you're thinking, how much work can actually get done out in Reno, but I'll tell you this right now, that organization has their stuff together, because the level of training we got out there was incredible. It is a requirement for us yearly to go through or attend this conference, whether it be virtually or in person. And I will tell you, hands down, in person Yes, I've been in this position, this is my 4th year. I just entered my 4th year on this position, and I've attended it virtually for the last 2 rather. The in-person, I mean, oh, am I? I'm sorry. So, with going out there in person, I was able to get questions answered by some of we had presenters from the VA administration, directors of VA Healthcare Administration, the Chant VA, and at the end of each of their presentations, we had the opportunity to go up there and ask them questions. And what this does is it helps us better do our job better to deliver the quality of service for the veterans. We had presenters from Liberty Dogs, which is an organization that helps get veterans suffering from mental health conditions in contact with service animals, service dogs, to help them get a better quality of life by having the service dog in their life. The VFW was there, and they gave a presentation on how to do specialized claims, better tips and trades on how to do so. Also, by going out there, I was able to get in contact with other veteran service officers from all over the nation and build the camaraderie and kind of get, with me being in my 4th year, I was able to expand my knowledge, kind of take the blinders off. Asbestos.com did a presentation out there where, you know, for me, seeing an asbestos claim come through our office and come across my desk, it gave me a better understanding on what to look for, what avenues I can take. So by allowing me to go to this conference, I was able to get a better understanding of more in-depth training. So that being said, do you have any questions? I'm sure you guys have a laundry list of questions, and I'm happy to answer them.
Questions for Grant about his conference, or just general veteran administration questions? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair and Grant, we had short discussions about third-party, I don't know what you want to call them, but the people who pretend to help veterans for a fee for signing up for programs.
Oh my.
Was that talked about in this conference?
Yes.
Are we gaining ground on preventing those things from happening? So could you address us a little bit on that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So this organization helps take to the legislation and combat this situation we are having. Right now, it's kind of at a standstill. Our National Association of County Veteran Service Officers legal director, I guess you could say, Mike McLeod here in Blue Earth County, he's the one that brings everything to Washington, D.C. We are constantly out there, our organization is constantly out there combating this and addressing it and fighting for the veterans' rights. So they know and send the, what's the word I'm looking for? Make them aware that services that are here are free in our office. This is our job, is to help them without being charged. And yeah, let them know that we're there for them and they don't have to pay these guys thousands of dollars. I mean, I can't tell you, I've had 3 or 4 claims come across my desk where I'm mopping up some of these messes that are being created, for lack of a better term. So, yes, that's a part of this organization's program, is to combat this. So.
Oh, very good. That kind of, you know, I wanted to create an awareness for us up here, and also the viewing public, that really our VSO officer or office should be their first call, not
Absolutely.
their last call.
Right. And it's not only NACVSO that's doing this, that's trying to combat this, it's the American Legion, the VFW, MDVA even. There's a number of other organizations out there trying to fight this and make it so that, hey, go to your county veteran service officer, you can get these services done for free. So,
Thank you very much.
yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Ant.
just wanted to bring up, within your comments, you brought up, that you had attended this virtually in the past, and you finally got a chance to attend in person, and that's some things that we really need to hear, because just for anybody watching the meeting online, to realize that you have to ask for permission for out-of-state travel. We don't just let anybody chase to these conferences anymore, and to be able to say that how much it helped you being there in person is a great example as to why there is a benefit to that expense of some of that out-of-state travel to attend in person, and you can visit with your colleagues more than just watching on a screen, and
Absolutely.
enhance the service when you get back home, and so thanks for that part of it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was kind of funny, I was addressing some issues I had with the director of Champ VA, and I had Brianna, she was texting me saying, hey, ask him this, ask him that. So it was kind of nice to have that opportunity to address it face to face rather than going through chains of emails, phone calls, stuff like that, which would take longer, where I get my answers immediately.
I think that's part of what's made everything better is, the veterans organizations and some of the other people you mentioned are all on the same page.
Correct.
And me as a McLeod County, we're even in veterans organizations, and as a commissioner, I'm pretty proud of our VA services, and they are, in my estimation, a lot better than they used to be. And when I say that, I mean the understanding and how and what services a person is needed. I mean, the one that always bothers me the worst is the suicides rates in veterans, and that, unfortunately, we must have a lot of people yet to reach, but that's, and they are, some of them reached, I realize that, but it's, that is a, we have a great country. It's too bad that people are so down on themselves or what they went through, but
Right. And
I'm very proud of the organization as a whole, but I'm very proud of McLeod's VSO. It's just outstanding.
we appreciate that. We definitely try our best for, getting the benefits and to the veterans out there, especially in this county, but, even outer counties that can come in,
Well, you're working so well with the organizations around, and each one complements the other.
Correct.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay.
Auditor Treasurer Janet.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm asking for consideration to approve Resolution 26CB18, State of Minnesota Department of Education, Education Identity and Access Management Board Authorization for Organization McLeod County 0043-91. I'm just going to read the resolution, and then if you guys have questions, please let me know. Whereas Minnesota Department of Education, Professional Educators and Licensing Standard Board, and Office of Higher Education require designation of identified official with the authority for each local educational agency that uses the Education, Identity, and Access Management System. And whereas the IOWA is responsible for authorizing, reviewing, and recertifying user access for their local educational agency in accordance with the State of Minnesota Enterprise Identity and Access Management Standards. And whereas the IOWA will authorize user access to the State of Minnesota Education Secure System in accordance with the user's assigned job duties, and will revoke the user's access when it's no longer needed to perform their job duties. Be it resolved that the McLeod County Board of Commissioners hereby approves Resolution 26CB18 to authorize the McLeod County Auditor Treasurer, Janet Betzinger, to perform on behalf of the county the duties of the identified official with authority within the Minnesota Department of Education's Identity and Access Management System. Be it further resolved that this approval does renew annually or until such time there is a change in the McLeod County IOWA designation. We use this multiple times throughout the year. We have to report to the state every time we do a settlement on each school's penalty and interest, what they're getting paid through the tax system. So that's done throughout the year, along with any transmission and distribution. Those are part of it. Any abatements that are done, we do that reporting to the state to see what part of the school district's tax portion was abated for their purposes as well. So, any questions?
Questions for Janet? I think you've laid it out pretty well. Only question I'd have is, it's renewed every year, and that's just basically for updates?
So it's not renewed every year, it's renewed today. So Connie used to be our IOWA since her retirement. I'm asking for authorization for myself, and then once I would no longer be in the position, you would have to appoint a new IOWA.
Very good.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I will move Resolution 26-CB-18.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Sheriff's Office, Casey. Good morning.
Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good.
So I'm here today in reference to our emergency operations plan that we have for the county. It's a 4-year cycle that we have to do with the emergency operations plan. Year 1 is a county board review, which is what we're doing right now. And then year 2 is a regional review committee that comes in and actually goes through the plan. Year 3 is a peer review. And then the 4th year, the Homeland Security Emergency Management actually comes in and reviews the plan. So it's just a revolving type plan. So this plan has been before you multiple times in the past to be reviewed. So every 4 years, we just go through and update it, make sure everything is correct, make sure we get all of our signatures. And there's 18 different topics that are in this plan, and each area has to be reviewed then by the people that are in charge of that, including the county board, and then approved on. So there's 71 requirements that are in the emergency operation plans. Some of the topics include mass fatalities, debris management, damage assessment, family assistance centers, public information, volunteer management, donation management, continuity of operation plans, search and rescue, and then the Board of Animal Health and Department of Ag. There's just a few of them that are in there. So it's, again, 18 topics, 294 pages, and it's an all-hazard plan. So it's basically any type of plan or any type of hazard, any type of event that would occur in McLeod County. This plan would then go into play to actually manage those plans. So what I'm looking for today is a resolution by the board then to adopt the new revised plan then, so we can continue on with that 4-year cycle.
Wishes of the board? Or questions for Casey?
Move to approve.
I'll
Motion
second.
made by Commissioner Wright to approve Resolution 26CB19. Is there a second?
Lori got it.
Seconded by Commissioner Chatska. Discussion. I have a request, and I have an old book at home when I first became a commissioner that kind of outlined some of our responsibilities in the event of a, lack of a better word, a crisis or something to really, I would, it's really nothing to do with this resolution, but I'd ask someday when this gets all squared away that we'd have you join us in a workshop or set up a workshop to, not to necessarily cover 400 pages, but to give the board some of the duties of what the board really does, because I used to be a bit of a responsor, and you carry a book and you go to the page that concerns you for the day, but it'd be kind of nice to know what page to look for if we get through all this, so.
Absolutely. Be more than happy to do that. And the biggest thing that the board right now has is the public information part of it. So in case there is an incident that occurs in the county, your main role would be public information. So we would be then looking to the board chair to get the information out to the general public.
And I don't wanna get sidetracked here, but like, there used to be code red, now there's something different too. Is that tied in with emergency response here now too, or how that response is delivered, or alerts were put out?
Correct. So we used to have code red, and if you remember earlier this year that they had a breach that occurred.
Right.
So we ended up getting rid of that, and then we went with a company called Regroup. And then we've got thousands of people in the McLeod County that have signed up for that now. So it's basic weather warnings all the way to the point if we do have some type of civil issue that goes on, we can send out those notices.
And that'd be another thing, that part.
Correct.
I mean, there's a lot of nuts and bolts, but it'd be good to recap some of the stuff that stands out, the first things that need to be done in an emergency, so.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go
Oh,
ahead,
excuse me.
Commissioner Swanson.
And, you know, Casey mentioned it about Regroup, and I just want the public to know that to sign up for Regroup, they have to go on the county website and go into the sign up that's listed. Just because you were in code red doesn't mean that you will be in Regroup. Am I correct on that, Casey?
Correct. We tried to bring as many people over that we could from the code red. So some people that have not signed up for Regroup are getting notices just because we were able to bring them over, but we didn't get all of them. So if you're not, you know, you can go on our county website and you can sign up that way. If you have any questions, concerns, problems, call into the sheriff's office and ask for me. I've had some people that aren't real good at computers, and I can actually go in there and then add them in personally.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, good question.
Just a reminder, some of us haven't wouldn't be recapped. It would be new to us.
Sure.
And I don't know about Lori, if you've went through it or not,
Went through what?
this emergency management system. Have you ever seen any of the documents or anything? I have not.
No. I'm assuming it's the same as.
Well, what we're really
Correct.
what I'm talking about is the earlier 400 pages, maybe 350, but whatever. We had a book at that time, and I don't know if that's available, but it all boils down to trying having a workshop about, you know, what we can and can't do,
Yeah.
especially what we can do, or what our mainly what our responsibilities are, because we actually carry more responsibilities than probably some of us know.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I know that we're gonna be arranging a workshop for the commissioners sometime this fall, and I'll talk to Casey Stotts about that, and we can go over a time that would make sense for that to occur,
That works.
timing wise.
And again, we don't wanna wear ourselves out on 400 pages. We wanna know the things that we can actually do. You know, we're not gonna study like you or go through them every day, so it's just, some of our responsibilities would be great.
One of the other things I'm planning on doing is we haven't put our emergency operations center, we haven't stood that up for a long time. So that might be a good time to stand that up, so you guys could come in as a board and actually kind of see how that would be put together, and then see where your piece of the puzzle is gonna be.
Right, because a lot of people, I mean, in today's world, they're all caught up in, well, family stuff, work stuff, and whatever, and they look, when something happens, they look for some leadership, and it's nice to know where the chain of command and responsibilities lie, so. Any other questions or discussion for Casey? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Health and Human Services, Barrett. Good morning, Barrett.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have two items for you today. The first is to consider approving the purchase of service agreement with Avera Behavioral Health Center in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to provide mental health hold order and mental health civil commitment beds and services for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2028. Avera Behavioral Health Center will provide mental health hold order and mental health civil commitment beds and services as medically appropriate. These services may include confinement of persons, observation, psychiatric services, diagnosis and evaluation services, nursing services, family education and support groups, group and individual therapy, medication administration, occupational and recreational therapy, and other treatment services specific to the patient's individual treatment plan. The proposed agreement is a contract renewal for inpatient psychiatric hospital services. The contract establishes a not-to-exceed daily rate of $1,395 for the duration of each patient stay. This represents a $100 per day reduction from the previous contract.
Wishes of the board, or questions for Barrett?
Question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Barrett, I know we need these contracts in place in case we need to use them.
Correct.
So can you speak to the usage that we've had, let's say in our short past history?
Yes, since we established our contract, I guess it has been 2 years now, we have not used them at all.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just in light of his question, are there, the availability, if needed, are they always there? I mean, you hear so much about these places being crowded, so I mean, do you feel, I mean, you obviously don't know if we're not needing them, but if we do need them, are they readily available?
This contract does not give us priority over beds. It just gives us that contracted reduced rate if we were to need them. But they are busy. They do have an extensive system. Obviously, they're out of Sioux Falls, but there is a lot of other Avera facilities that we could use within South Dakota and in southern Minnesota as well.
So bottom line, the system is there to accommodate.
To accommodate, yes.
Our concerns, okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Has anybody ever went and visited any one of these sites?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I'll move request, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls to approve request. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 2 is to consider approving an amendment to the administrative contract with Woodland Centers Act, which stands for Assertive Community Treatment Team for the period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028. Woodland Centers has asked to use parking spaces at a McLeod County facility for up to 5 vehicles utilized by their staff to provide ACT services throughout McLeod County. After discussing the request with John Jerebick, McLeod County Parks and Recreation Manager, it was determined that parking space is available at the fairgrounds. And there's a map in the meeting packet for your reference of where those cars are located. Both parties acknowledge that vehicles may need to be temporarily moved during large events, such as the McLeod County Fair, and that snow removal cannot be guaranteed immediately following every event. In exchange for the use of the parking spaces, Woodland Centers agrees to reduce the annual administrative fee under the purchased service agreement for the ACT services. For the 2026 contract year, the annual administrative fee will be reduced from $20,000 to $19,000, reflecting a mid-year adjustment effective July 1st, 2026. Woodland Centers will repay $1,000 to McLeod County to account for this reduction. For contract years beginning January 1st, 2027 through December 31st, 2028, the annual administrative fee will be reduced from $20,000 to $18,000.
All right, wishes of the board. I have, since the agenda came out, I know I've had some questions on this, whether that's the best place or whether where and why is the best place, but first of all, I'd like to know is what is the purpose of the cars and how often are they used every day? One car or all the cars, or how often are they used?
Those 5 cars are specifically for the ACT team to provide services for clients and residents of McLeod County.
And where are they housed, I mean, are they work from home, or where are they actually do their?
Yeah, they could, I'm not sure about that. They may work remotely, but Woodland Center's main facility is in Wilmer.
Questions from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, my question just is, the past practice. Were these cars in McLeod County? Were they parked? What were we doing before looking at this agreement here this morning?
I'm not sure what Woodland Centers did with those cars.
Mr. Chair, I just want to note that I didn't know this, so I would have talked to you about it this morning. But I believe the cars are at the fairgrounds right now.
They are at the fairgrounds.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I
And
just
I
wanted to
did-
make sure you were notified of that, because I know you were out of town.
Thank you. John and I did talk yesterday. I wasn't aware that the cars were already there, so I did notify Ashley, who is the director of Woodland Centers, and said, the agreement has not been signed. It may not be signed, so I need you to know that you may need to move the cars.
And, well, I mean, the question still has bearing that, what did they do? You don't know what they did?
I don't
before.
know what they did with them,
No,
no.
I don't either,
No.
so.
We are not we are not a member of that mental health facility or mental health provider. Many counties are members, but we have chosen over the years not to be. That is why we have separate contracts with them that we pay a reduced rate, but we don't pay them a large sum upfront to be a member, and that has worked well for us.
So you don't know exactly why they picked us to put, I mean, were we more centrally located versus a county that did participate? I mean,
They have cars in other counties that they work with too.
all right.
So she just reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking to park some cars in the county. Do you have any space that would be available?
And I mean, obviously, I know Woodland Centers in general, but I don't know about their specifics, so.
Right.
Commissioner Wright has a
Yeah.
question.
So I think at first glance, I thought, well, that's something that'll maybe work. And then as I thought about it further in my years and years of experience at the fairgrounds, it seems like we're constantly on guard to get stuck with somebody requesting space, especially in the form of any kind of a contract. And it's, some trailers or cars or whatever. And I am very hesitant to move forward on this because of that. Because once we let, if it's a part of the county internally needing space, that's one thing. But latching on with an outside entity looking for room, we tried to work our way over the years out of some of those situations, and I don't want to enter into another one in the form of a contract.
Sure.
Now, the space that's been indicated at this time is it's up in the air what we're going to do with it. So to a degree, it's not allocated towards anything, but it's also the more we keep it bare, the more our minds are trying to figure out what to do with it down the road without being all of a sudden allocated to a contract that, well, months down the road, now we have to do something with that as well. So I guess I am probably on the no side on this one. It looks like a good idea, and I'm all about partnerships. I love that. But if once we start going down that road again of allowing space at the fairgrounds, then it seems like we constantly need to push back on those requests, because once you get started again, you can't stop. And so I'm gonna stay with the not interested in a contract. And it's not because it's Woodland directly, it's just in general. We have to really protect what the fairgrounds is there for.
I completely understand. Thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Dahl?
Just a comment again, and I shared the comment with you in the email, so this isn't anything new. But so the public understands where I'm coming from, I'm standing with Paul on this. I would not like to see it, but for a different reason. I think whenever we start, and I'll use the word horse trading, okay? So we're taking and I'll just say the fairgrounds, that's a department, and you're in charge of a department, and we're giving you a benefit over here by lowering your costs, and you're getting this over here for them free. And this is the fairgrounds over here. So if they want to deal with the fairgrounds in a contract and parking, they should be dealing directly with John. That's my gut reaction. I talked with the finance director on this, and she agreed with me, and I was very concerned because as I'm going through learning stuff, here now there's something missing, and how would I ever find that out? You know, if I wasn't sitting here, I would never find that out, because it's not on the books. So it's very tough to understand. I don't want to get in the, I don't ever want to start us going down of horse trading, even internally. I just don't like it.
Commissioner Dahl,
And- Yeah,
I just want to note that all contracts are reviewed by the county attorney's office, so
sure.
it wouldn't go through John Jerbeck, or we don't make individual agreements with different departments unless the contracts are all being flowed through the attorney's office and then coming to the board. So Barrett wouldn't make an agreement with anyone without it going through that. I just want to note
Yeah,
that so the public
yeah,
understands.
thanks for the clarification. I understood
Yeah.
that part.
Thank you.
I'm just making sure that we're not putting a zero value on anything at the fairgrounds, because that's what it appears to be.
Absolutely, I agree with that, and
Yeah.
that I know that we have had several discussions about like bus parking and different contracts and done temporary things, and it's difficult. But I just want to make sure that the public
Yeah.
understands all contracts do go through the two same spots, the county attorney's office and the county board, so regardless of the department head.
And in my initial conversations with John, they weren't interested in charging. I mean, that may have changed, or we could do something different there. So I just took it upon myself to ask Ashley if she'd be willing to negotiate with us
No, and I
in
think
exchange for
that's
that.
all fine for the information again.
Yeah.
The bottom line, that it's county, it is the county's responsibility, and my biggest worry is the extra responsibility, because things can happen. I learned, and not necessarily with Woodland or with this contract,
Yep.
but somebody has to be responsible maybe right now, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, we gotta get something moved, and nobody's there. And I mean, there doesn't seem to be somebody with a vested interest real close. So, but at any rate, that would be my concern.
Okay.
Any other questions for?
Mr. Chair.
Wishes of the board? Go ahead, Commissioner.
I guess, you know, I want to be accommodating to Woodland as much as we can, but at the same time, I'm understanding the concerns about entering contracts, and I guess what I'm looking for is if the county attorney, after hearing the pros and cons of the topic, whether he can offer any additional advice pertaining to this subject.
Mr. Chair, before that, sorry, but I just want to make sure that, I don't know that you've had time to review it, but that is taken into consideration. We're in the middle of summer right now, and we're not going to take keys to another organization's vehicles, correct? So we wouldn't have the keys to those vehicles if something occurred. If we have an ice and snow event, we can't move them. And I know that was addressed, and thank you, but that factor doesn't go away. And our maintenance team is constantly moving all of the vehicles at this building into the, all of them into the garage, making sure they're ready for response. And I just don't think that we could manage that part of it, which I had just thought of this morning. So I just want that taken into consideration too. Thank you.
And while I appreciate the concern of our county attorney, I mean, he's more into whether the contract is valid, not whether there's responsibilities to getting stuff moved or how we operate, our facilities, so.
And Mr. Chair, if I
just
could.
want to take you off the hook. but-
No, that's okay, I appreciate that, but, right, I mean, as far as, the legality of the contract, I mean, there's a contract in place. Like most contracts, it can be amended by mutual agreement of the parties. So the fact that there's a proposed amendment, it's able to be amended if both parties would agree. Now, as far as, any legal concerns, I mean, there aren't any as far as, allowing space and getting a reduction in cost and return. So then it just comes down to that cost-benefit analysis that's already been talked about here. The county's resources versus a potential cost savings, and is it worth the savings? And that's ultimately a decision that rests in your hands. I agree, I mean, I understand kind of the discussion regarding, bartering or horse trading. I think the fact that this is here in front of a board and public meeting, it's not that negative connotation of a horse trade that, that would be thought of. That's why we're here discussing it. If this would have been done, in under the table handshake agreement, y'all found out a month later, years later, well then you'd have an issue. So there'd be nothing preventing us from moving forward with this contract if you felt like it was in the county's best interest. There's also nothing, saying we can't just leave the contract that's currently in place, you know, based on the concerns that have been raised. So, there isn't any legal concerns. Now it's just kind of that cost-benefit analysis and what's in the best interest of the county. So, and I think that's what this, you know, discussion's been geared on. So I don't really have anything else to add.
Wishes of the board.
I guess if we need a motion on the more negative side of it, I will move to deny the amendment.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to deny. And seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks for bringing it up, though.
Thank you.
Needed to be a discussion point, so.
Public Works, Andrew and John.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Consider approving the bid from R&R Excavating Incorporated of Hutchinson, Minnesota to perform demolition, removal, and backfill of various structures at Stalls Lake Park at a total cost of $37,857.37 with funds from the designated for capital assets budget. The structures to be demolished include 3 sheds, a house, silo, and a septic system. All buildings have major repair needs and are no longer useful for park operations. Asbestos testing was performed by Brett Madsen Asbestos Abatement. Lab results found asbestos present in various materials in the house and sheds. It will be the contractor's responsibility to lawfully dispose of all materials containing asbestos. Alternative bids were received from Jerpy Contracting of Hutchinson, Minnesota in the amount of $41,940 and Rachel Aggregates LLC of Arlington, Minnesota in the amount of $49,700.
Question, John, is there been enough inspection done that there's not a contingency put on if there's more asbestos than they see right now?
It sounds like most of the contractors that I spoke with will be working with we're going to be working with Mr. Madsen to do the abatement themselves. So they were contracting that with a licensed professional. So
Approving this contract, that's what it is. That's just the contractor's issue if they run into more than they expect.
correct.
All right, that's fine. Wishes of the board or questions for John? Have discussed this, and I mean, it's not, the upkeep, like a lot of other things, is probably not worth trying to, you know, make it look nice, or lack of a better word, but.
I'll make a motion to approve, and then I'll start asking some questions.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Dahl to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Discussion. Go ahead, Commissioner Dahl.
I want to be very clear about what we're doing, so. On that, when you pull into Stalls Lake, off to your right side, there's a double garage, then there's a single garage. You look to the left, then there's what I call the red granary, then there's the silo, and then there's the house to the left, so that's all gone.
Correct.
And then I also saw the septic system, but nothing about the well?
No, so the well, the current plan is to utilize the well that's in place. I'm working with a contractor on some other parks as well, and that's part of the parks plan, but separate. So we'll be looking at whether or not we want to reuse the existing well and put up just a small shed with a pressure tank and stuff, or we might just go to a smaller capacity well, which would be similar to what we're looking at doing at some of our outlying parks. So we want to maintain that possibility in the meantime. So I do have an electrician coming, if this is approved, to pull the switch from the house for the well and then get the electrical disconnected. So we may be using the well, or we may be just capping it depending on what they find with some other options. But
Okay, thank you, John.
Just to that question, I think if the well is suitable, it's nice to keep the well if you can. I mean, obviously, but Any other questions or discussion?
I just have one.
Commissioner
So we're
Chesky?
contracting with R&R for 38,000, and then them working with Madson's will take.
If
in-
that's who they're choosing
If
to, yeah.
that's who they choose, okay.
That would be part of that lump sum
That would be
agreement.
their deal, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
From what I gathered, I had some questions as well when I first seen it, and I think the contract covers it. I mean, they're gonna backfill and do the whole 9 yards in the contract. First, it was, when I read it, it was specified, kinda just to the asbestos, but it's for all the materials, the cement, backfilling, cleaning it up. I'm reasonably satisfied, knowing who's doing it, and we've used some of these before, so.
Yeah, and they performed the demolitions at Piepenburg Park and Lake Marion
Lake
last year.
Marion.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Sorry, I just have one more.
Jessica?
So, Jerpies, or not Jerpies, R&R, I mean, they're gonna have to contract with somebody for that, we're not going to.
If they're not licensed
Yes,
themselves, yes,
okay.
then they have to, yep.
Yeah, cause do we get notified of who their subcontractors are or anything on that?
I can request that to make sure. I mean, ultimately, in the request for bids that we sent out, it outlined which statute that they need to follow for asbestos abatement, which does say that it needs to be performed by a licensed
I would prefer
contractor.
to know who, I mean, not that it makes a difference who they have, I just want to make sure they have somebody that's licensed for that.
Yeah, I can request
And it gets put
that.
to the right,
Commissioner Cheska, it's
And-
kinda covered. I mean, I shouldn't say kinda, it is, to my satisfaction, it's covered that it has to be disposed of according to
okay.
that
Yep, I just
section,
wanna
and
be
that
aware, I wanna be, make
Having
sure.
some other dealings with asbestos abatement, as long as that's covered and it's disposed of properly. I was just concerned about a contingency if they didn't know what they were getting into and they're responsible for it. And it's not that big of a building that it should be covered. God knows if it's linoleum or shingles, but whatever.
Okay.
Any more questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Good morning. I have one item for your consideration. Consider approving final acceptance and payment of $28,757.63 to Allied Blacktop Company of Maple Grove, Minnesota for the county project 26000-001 and CP 026-000-002, the countywide pavement markings and seal coat project. The project is completed satisfactorily, and staff recommends final acceptance and payment.
Questions for Andu or wishes of the board?
Move request, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls to approve request. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Discussion? I think it's all spelled out here, and if Andrew says it's done satisfactorily, I believe him, so. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. Good morning. I have 3 items for you this morning. First one is consider approving the statement of work from Cyberforce Q of Plymouth, Michigan on the Minnesota County's computer cooperative contract for renewal of security information and event management software and support at a cost of $45,867.36 with funds from the information technology budget. A SIM system allows us to collect all required security logs from all endpoints in one place and streamline the required review of these logs. By proactively reviewing logs, we can spot anomalies and take actions to prevent or reduce major cybersecurity events.
Wishes of the board. Motion made by Commissioner Cheska to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. B.
Consider approving state contract quote from Exigent Solutions of Minneapolis, Minnesota to renew the Commvault software subscription and support for 1 year at a cost of $32,806.80 with funds from the information technology budget. A key component of McLeod County's data protection or backup strategy is the Commvault software used to perform backups of the county's data from on-premise systems. Maintaining an active support agreement on our Commvault software allows access to technical support and software upgrades.
Questions or wishes of the board?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Dahl to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. C.
Consider renewing the annual maintenance agreement with Information Systems Corporation of Fargo, North Dakota for maintenance of application extender, workflow, and document scanners at a cost of $62,279 with funds from the Information Technology budget, Recorder's Technology Fund, and Social Services budget. Application extender is used for electronic document management and workflow by various county departments, including administration, assessor, attorney, finance, recorder, social services, veteran services, and others. The annual maintenance agreement provides support on the software and document scanners, as well as version upgrades.
Wishes of the board.
Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Schmalz.
Hopefully, this won't be too hard of a question, Matt. My question is, how did you come to the breakdown of who's using the services and those budgets that those costs are being applied to?
So the items for the recorder and social services are pieces that they use specifically for them. The items out of IT budget are items that are used across the county from all other departments.
Any other questions for Matt?
Just a follow-up, is it by count, or is there a tracking, or the methodology involved? I mean, you explained why we're dividing it up amongst those budgets, but can you give me a little bit more?
Some of it is license count. Some of it is they have one particular module that's just for them.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just one question.
Go ahead,
Is
Commissioner
this what
Chester.
we're using? A couple years ago, before the move, I think, or during the move, everything got scanned in and is now in the cloud. Is that kind of what this is for? All the document management, or is it just day-to-day workings?
So this is, all the documents that are scanned into this are stored on premise on a server that we host here. Shortly after our move to this facility, we did purchase a component of this that we use for invoice processing. That might be the piece you're remembering. Otherwise, there's different departments scan different things in here. Some of it's for archival purposes, some of it's for day-to-day activities. There's a lot of wide-ranging uses of it.
All good questions. I just, in all three of these requests, it just shows the responsibility of our IT manager. I mean, I don't take that lightly, and I'm not even gonna claim to understand. I could keep asking questions, but I have all, again, your responsibility and the faith in you making the right decisions, or you have good answers for things that I ask you offline, and know you take this seriously to find the right thing. So that's my comment. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Environmental Services, Mark.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I have 4 items for you this morning. Item A is to consider approving preliminary plat 26-02 as requested by Travis Stratman for a 3-lot preliminary plat to be known as North Oaks Estates, located in the southwest quarter of Section 25 Glencoe Townships. That is just south of town here, about 1.5 miles, 2 miles. This quarter section currently has one non-farm dwelling, thus requiring this request. Radke Septic Services provided soil boring logs for each lot, showing an area and a site for an alternate site for a septic system. The Glencoe Township Board recommended approval on June 11th, 2026. The McLeod County Planning Commission recommended approval on June 24th, 2026, with one request, and that was for that preliminary plat to be revised to show the wetland boundary. Travis Stratman, the applicant, is here. He has reached out to our Soil and Water Office. I did speak with Ryan Freitag. He acknowledged that he received that. They will be going out there to mark that boundary. But with that being said, all 3 lots that are being requested do have adequate space for septic services, well, and for a house and a shed.
It's right in my neighborhood, so I guess I'll comment on it as long as all the rules, regulations are being followed. It looks to me, I've been in contact with Mark, and everything is being done properly, and I have no problem with it. With that, I'll make a motion to approve. Motion made by Kruger and seconded by Chatska. Is there any more discussion or any discussion? Commissioner Dahl?
Clarification, is that with the wetland boundary to be marked prior to any excavating or filling?
Well, right, it kind of goes with the, with the permits. From my experience, not specific to this, but if the terms can't be met, if there's some difference in the wetland, that'll all come up with the future permits.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So typically, if you do want to require things to be added to a plat, you have to have a subdivision agreement. We are not asking for a subdivider's agreement. The Planning Commission did not recommend that. Was a simple ask to the applicant that he do mark the boundary of that wetland on there, not necessarily doing a delineation, but a determination. So the difference is just knowing where the boundary is. We have a rough idea based on the National Wetland Inventory maps that we have. I'm comfortable with that. That is a national publication, and there is adequate space. 2 lots to the south that abut County Road 10, those are both 4-acre lots. The one to the north is significantly bigger than that. So there was concern from the public at the Planning Commission for the public hearing just to be able to identify the boundaries of that wetland and reflect that on that preliminary plat. So the applicant and his surveyor have agreed to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, good answer. It's usually because of regulations, people want to know. It's just a good boundary to have specified. With that, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B is to consider approving conditional use permit 26-11 as requested by Jay Rickert Excavating for the renewal of an existing pit for gravel mining, processing, and stockpiling of material on property owned by Dennis Gores. The size is 5.5 acres. That would be the excavated area for the pit request. It is located in that part of the northeast quarter, which is 40 acres of the west half, the northeast quarter south of the river, in section 23 of Rich Valley Township. This is an existing mined area with tillable acreage, floodplain, and wetland adjacent to the South Fork River. The haul route from the pit access enters onto 155th Street, which is County Road 55. Reclamation will be to a 4-to-1 side slope for non-farming purposes. The Rich Valley Township Board recommended approval on May 12, 2026. The McLeod County Planning Commission recommended approval on a 3-to-2 vote on June 24, 2026 with the following conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall submit a bond or a letter of credit to McLeod County Environmental Services by July 15, 2026 in the amount of $12,000. Number 2, the hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday shall be permitted as needed with a 24-hour notice to McLeod County Environmental Services, and those hours would be from 7 a.m. to 2 o'clock on Saturday if needed. Number 3, truck hauling signs shall be posted when hauling. Number 4, the applicant shall meet all state national, and that should read National Pollution Discharge Elimination Systems, strike the state. That is a federal request to apply if needed, and then also to apply for a dewatering permit from the DNR. Number 5, applicants shall follow all mining standards contained in section 16 of the McLeod County zoning ordinance, if not further restricted by this permit. Number 6, stockpiling of material shall not be stored in the floodplain. Number 7, the applicant shall restore the pit area back to a 4-to-1 side slope for non-farming purposes. Number 8, no mining in existing wetlands is allowed without approval from the McLeod County Soil and Water Office. They are the Wetland Conservation Act officer. Number 9, there shall be no recycling of concrete or bituminous on site. Number 10, McLeod County Environmental Services shall inspect all restoration work completed and approve with the letter acknowledging completion to release the bond or letter of credit back to the applicant. And number 11, the stockpile height shall not exceed 30 feet. With that being said, I know there were some questions asked of me this past week in regards to why the Planning Commission, there was a 3-to-2 vote that had to do with the bond. The zoning ordinance requires a minimum of $5,000 or $1,000 per acre, whichever is greater. There was some discussion in amongst the board members at this first request for the gravel pit, thinking that that $1,000 per acre is not enough. That was the nature, and I can let Commissioner Chechka speak to that if she wishes to, but there was no more or less in regards to that 3-to-2 vote. It was just to the fact that they felt that maybe we should have had that discussion through discussion at the end of the agenda versus during that, during the request, during the public hearing. So pretty consistent with the other pits, with the exception that they did increase the requirement for the reclamation bond by an additional $1,000 per acre to get us to that $12,000.
For clarification, is that specific to each permit, isn't it? I mean, are you looking at maybe changing the difference permanent? I mean, is that going to be, I hate to say permanently. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Need it. But I mean, is that going to be going forward? Is that probably going to be the way to go? I mean, everything's getting more expensive. Not that that makes it right, but I mean that's how.
I appreciate that question. So Commissioner Dahl and I had a good conversation yesterday about this. The ordinance cites minimums, and we amended the ordinance early 2000s that never had a minimum. So to put a increased number in ordinance that says this is what we're going to charge, I think that would not be the right direction to go, just because we don't know where the value of $1 is going to be 20 years from now, 4 years from now, whatever the case is when the reclamation occurs. Since I've been here, knock on wood, we have not had to call in a letter of credit or a bond. But it is something that is, in my opinion, it's a good policy, if you will. It's good ordinance to have. Keep over that contractor or that landowner's permit, just to make sure that it does get done. So to answer the question in regards to, is this something that, will go up, is going to stay consistent? That's really during the Planning Commission's public hearing process, recommendation to you, and what you feel is necessary to get that reclamation done in the event that the contractor or the landowner is breach of this particular permit. Again, my personal opinion, I think $12,000, I don't know where that number, should necessarily lie. Every situation is a little bit different. It's based on the pit size, how much work has been done out there, how deep these things are. $12,000, if you talk to contractors, and I did ask the question at the public hearing, and the answer I got was a little bit more than I thought. When you take a dozer and a man and put them on site, you're at about $260, $280 an hour. So depending on how much work needs to be done, you can burn through a minimum of $12,000 fairly quick.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner Cheska.
So that was the reason that I voted no on both of those cases. We had two local companies come in for the same request. We've always done the 1,000. And then the discussion went to, well, that's so low, we need to increase it. I felt we should have stayed where we're at least at this point, and done some more research to find out exactly, what we're working with and what it should be in the future. When the 3-to-2 vote in the first one, we got to the second, and we kind of set a precedence going forward. So that's why then it went from a 3-to-2 to a 4-to-1, and I just held my ground. I wasn't, it is what it is, but I want to do more work on that to make sure, like Mark said, there's so many variables that that need to be in play, and I don't know if, I don't know how to go about it, but I'm sure Mark will have some great ideas.
Mr. Dahl,
You knew it was coming, right?
I watch your button.
Do we know if this is an ordinance or is it a policy?
It's an ordinance.
It's an ordinance.
Now, there's a minimum in ordinance.
There's a minimum in the ordinance, right? So, and the ordinance hasn't changed,
Correct.
but the recommendation has changed.
Correct.
From what your recommendation to zoning and planning has changed. I'm agreeing with Lori that this should have not changed while it was before us. I think if we're gonna make a change, it shouldn't be penalizing the people that are before us and then go, oh, by the way, I think we should have a little more forward thought on this and go, here's what we're gonna do in the future. Then everybody knows coming in, not penalizing the people that are standing before you. That's my 2 cents.
And just in fairness, I actually appreciate this conversation, for transparency. However, if you feel that strongly about it, we have the ability to make that change right here.
That is correct. I don't want
I don't want to
defer
get
to the
in, but I
attorney's
mean,
office, but that is correct.
That is what we do. I have every faith in, the reason I appreciate it is because a lot of people think we just rubber stamp these things and it goes through. No, we have, at the end of the day, the ability, I have every confidence in the commission, and the precedence is obviously very important. And that's why, I noticed it as well. Otherwise, the only thing I noticed difference was the height of the piles, and I didn't understand. And I wasn't gonna argue about 5 feet, but I didn't know what precedence you have and how high you can store, never mind. But coming back to this, at the end of the day, we have the responsibility, duty, whatever you want it, to make this permit. So I mean, as chair, I mean, if this is that important, I'll entertain a motion to change it to whatever you, if you feel that strongly about it, to carry through with that.
Mr. Chair, if I may just add one thing before there is a motion. So the reason, and you brought up a good point, and that was discussed also at the Planning Commission by the members of the Planning Commission about the stockpile height. We require them to fill out a form of what they're asking for the application. So when we bring those requirements forward, it looks like it to you that we're being a little bit arbitrary, but we're not. We're putting down conditions of what they're saying they're gonna meet, they're gonna ask for. So as long as it's, below the standards that we've had in the past, I appreciate the Planning Commission's work on what they do, because why would we increase something to a point that they're not necessarily asking for?
Great. And again, I'm repeating myself, but I appreciate the questions and what we're doing here, to know that people, we just don't rubber stamp thing and run them through. I appreciate these questions, and the rest I'll leave up to the board. I mean, I like Lori and other people in whatever we do. I look at whether it's townships or commissions or committees, how they voted. It's important for me to, if there's a split vote, that's what causes me usually to investigate a little bit more. Otherwise, I do trust townships or the committees that do it. That's what we appoint them for, or elect them. So, with that, wishes of the board. I mean, you're the commissioner. I don't wanna sound like a dad here, but I mean, you're the commissioner. I mean, you have that right to do, that is our responsibility and right. I mean, obviously, in some circumstances, a permit or a request can be granted, and if all of a sudden our room is full, it turns out to be our decision. So something is usually, I tend to agree with you that you're talking two things. That subject should have been separate from the permitting process, and then we wouldn't have had a problem.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may add one more thing, if you are considering a motion and changing that condition, the minimum by ordinance would be $6,000 on that, to reflect that. And at the same time, I don't disagree because I've done a number of work on solar and what we require for those as well, and that's how we arrived at that number per panel, was going out and soliciting bids to see what it would cost, not only just to recycle them, but haul them and to pull them.
Right, and I absolutely do not argue with that possible changes should be made, but precedence is very important to me as well, so.
Okay, so my take on this is I don't want to look like a baby, if I may say that, because the other four voted, or the other three, whatever, you know, they voted for what they felt, and I was outvoted, and I'm fine with that. So I don't want to make a motion to change it just because I can, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense, but it's gonna sound like a funny response, but you can.
I know, but I mean, everybody has their reasons, and if you guys want to change it, great, I would be for that, but I don't want to be the one to come back here and say, well, those guys didn't listen to me, so I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna change it here. Because I think we work well together. I really like the Planning and Zoning Commission, so.
And to Commissioner Chutka's comment, that's a concern that commission in the past has had, and again, it's the authority of the county board. It's not the authority of the planning commission. The planning commission exists in statute to be able to take time and hear all the facts because of the sake of time for your meeting. But with that being said, my only comment with that would be, we're talking about a difference of $6,000 on this request. I know it's a principal matter on this. Has nothing to do with the money because the actual cost for the letter of credit or the bond is going to be very similar.
And again, as a chair, I just wanted to clarify that you do have, I'm not saying one way or another. I would caution, I'm okay with all the response that Lori had, but I would just caution maybe that the commission look at looking at a precedence. If there is that, I mean, I don't exactly know where that money goes and where it comes from and I know where it comes from, whether it's returned or how it works. But that's something you should probably discuss on a separate matter. But I think it's great conversation.
If I may add one more thing, Mr. Chair, so that precedence piece, I get nervous with that because people want to come in and they talk about that all the time. We have pits that are deep, right? So it may only be a 6-acre pit, but it might be 50 feet deep. Or we may have a 6-acre pit that's only 10 feet deep. So there's no precedent in regards to time that it's gonna cost for reclamation if we have to call in that letter of credit or a bond. So it is a little bit, you know, it's not a exact science is where I'm going with this. It's something that you're gonna have to make a gut decision on to determine how many hours if you have to, you know, if we have to hire a contractor to go in there to reclaim something. So every situation and where I'm going with this is different. We don't typically see two pits the same size, depth exactly the same.
Well, to me, that is the precedence then. So, and I agree with you. And maybe this is just a good exercise, because I also have been cautioned by the commission or members of the commission or different, you know, why are you putting me out there? We do all this work and then you change it. I mean, that isn't taken lightly, so I agree with Commissioner Chutska. Again, wishes of the board.
We'll make a motion to approve with the recommendations from the Planning Advisory Commission, except for the amount of the bond, which shall be reduced to $6,000.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Dahl with the change of the bond. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. All in favor, or a discussion on that motion? Go ahead, Commissioner Schmalz.
Mr. Chair, I seconded the motion because After listening, to the discussion we've had here at the desk, I think that there's an expectation on the applicants coming forward on what the bond may be. And if we have to look at increasing the bond, maybe that should be a standalone issue that we look at in the future. And I agree, I accept what Mark is stating, that every situation can be different, okay? So maybe that's why we have to review our policy to see if we can come up with something that works a little better for both the applicant and McLeod County. So that's why I did second the motion, and that's where I'm at with this.
Any more discussion?
I was in the
Mr.
same,
Gall.
I'm in the same boat. I wanna see it separated. I don't wanna see it in a conditional use permit.
Any more discussion?
So, yeah.
I do have, one thing, I tend to agree. Before I was talking as a board chair to make sure everybody has their opinion. Now, my opinion is that I don't know how we arrive at a precedence. I do agree with Mark, and I mentioned it earlier when I talked to some of the commissioners, but everyone's different. I don't know how we arrive at that number, because, I know enough about pits, or been in enough of them, that I can't think of two alike other than one you dig in your back 40. But, so with that, I will support it because it should stand alone, but I don't think we're gonna be able to set, like you mentioned before, a precedence to all pits, because it's not gonna, and but I like the discussion, and I think the commission and the board should have an understanding of what that means.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may add.
Go ahead. Or if I could, Mr. Chair. It's been touched on, and these points are well taken. I think planning and zoning is one area, and in particular, and Mr. Chair, you just spoke to it. To set a blank, whether precedent or standard when we're dealing with unique properties it'd be problematic. Now, we do need to be fair and consistent in the way we apply our rules and the way we analyze these things. But each property is unique, so it needs to be looked at with those individual factors. And then as far as just the process, maybe we can do more to communicate with our applicants, the things we look at, how the ordinance might be applied. But there's a reason why the ordinance has a minimum, but not a cap, and it's to allow for, to apply to these various properties where there has to be some minimum, but certain properties will at some point warrant a higher bond to protect, the community around it. So I just, again, maybe precedent's not quite the right word. I think we need to be fair and consistent in how we apply our ordinance and our rules to our applicants, but there needs to be room, for each unique property to be assessed. So maybe I'm being repetitive there, but, I just ask that we keep that in mind, and, the ordinance probably doesn't need to change. Maybe just the way we communicate the potential process that might apply to various applicants, we could certainly probably update that or anything else that the board wishes, but the ordinance needs to have that flexibility.
Yeah, very well phrased. I totally agree.
And just to add to that, Mr. Chair, I thank Ryan for that. With that being said, we have the financial requirement in ordinance today. We attach that as a condition. There's no need for it to be attached as a condition. If it didn't come to you on the application as a condition, they still have to meet the requirements of the ordinance for the activity. The reason we do attach that is for transparency, because that order gets recorded and it stays with the property if the property were to transfer. So the new buyer, without going through the process, understand what the requirements are of himself or of a contract that they might have with a contractor. To amend the ordinance, you would be amending the ordinance quite often if that number was ever going to change. So the applicant, the contractors that I've dealt with over my years, if you ask them, and rightfully so, there's been no breach of contract, if you will, in regards to that reclamation, because they met the standards. So what they do for themselves and what they charge themselves as a business versus what they would charge a third party to do that work, my opinion would probably be different. So that consistency piece is important, I think, to you, of what I'm hearing, but how we get to that really is going to be up to the work of the planning commission on site to give you a recommendation, unless you go out there and take a peek at that yourself to see what you think needs to be done, which is hard to do when these permits start, because a lot of them haven't been open before. And contractors will go out there and they know there might be 10, 15 feet of gravel there, but then it turns into 30 feet of gravel on a renewal, on another renewal.
No, this has been great conversation. And I don't want the planning commission to change their duties either. It's good to speak out, and I think everything that was discussed today should be given to them at their next meeting. With that, I'm gonna call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C is to consider approving conditional use permit 26-12 as requested by John DeMeyer, 20939 Kale Drive, Silver Lake, Minnesota, to allow construction to exceed 2,000 square feet of accessory space in an R1 rural residential zoned area for a 40 by 40 pole shed addition with a 12-foot lean-to addition onto that structure. This is a platted parcel located in Swan Lake Estates. The total square footage would be 5,584 square feet if approved, exceeding the 2,000 square feet of accessory space allowed in a rural residential zoned area. There was an easement that ran north and south through the middle of his property. That easement has since been vacated by McLeod Co-op Power. The Hale Township Board unanimously recommended approval on June 11, 2026. The McLeod County Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval on June 24, 2026, with the condition that the structure shall be used for personal use only.
Wishes of the board.
Move request, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Discussion?
Just a question for Mark. So
Go ahead, Commissioner Dahl.
that, the total amount, the percentage in the square foot on this bill, you know, you go with 2,000 square feet, and it's gonna go up to a total of 5,584. Okay, has that been done before? Something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, when we look at conditional use permits, it's unique to each application and the surrounding area to see if there would be an impact.
Yeah.
And through statute, if the impact can be mitigated through conditions, then typically that leads you to an approval and mitigation to make sure that it does not impact the neighboring property owner.
Okay. I just wanna make sure it's the same. Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D is to consider approving conditional use permit 26-13 as requested by Josh Kosek to renew a mining conditional use permit on 12.7 acres of property he owns for excavation, crushing, screening, and stockpiling of material for a 5-year period. The primary haul route will be from the pit to 130th Street, which is County Road 70, to Highway 15, which is to the west. The secondary haul route will be from the pit to 130th Street, east to Page Avenue, which is also County Road 25. The pit area will be reclaimed to a 4-to-1 side slope as excavation occurs to restore and minimize runoff and erosion. The Sumter Town Board recommended approval on June 9th, 2026. The McLeod County Advisory Commission voted 4-to-1 to recommend approval on June 24th, 2026 with the following condition. Number 1, the applicant shall submit a bond or a letter of credit to McLeod County Environmental Services by July 15th, 2026 in the amount of $26,000. Number 2, hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday shall be permitted as needed with a 24-hour notice to McLeod County Environmental Services. Those hours would be 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. Number 3, the applicant shall meet all state and national pollution discharge elimination system (NPDES) requirements and apply for a Department of Natural Resource dewatering permit if needed. Number 4, the applicant shall restore pit area to a 4-to-1 back slope for wildlife purposes. Number 5, stockpiles shall not exceed 35 feet in height. Number 6, the McLeod County Environmental Services shall inspect all restoration work completed and approve with a letter acknowledging completion to release the bond or a letter of credit back to the applicant. Number 7, the applicant shall follow all mining standards contained in section 16 of the McLeod County zoning ordinance, if not further restricted by this permit. So with that being said, 4-1 vote, I think we covered that earlier. That was in relation to that bond amount. The second piece is the area that he would be opening is new. So again, kind of what we talked about before, we don't really know how deep the gravel is. He knows that there's enough there. The current hole that he is working in right now, which is also part of this, originally was started by Dan Rickert many years ago, and Josh is still finding gravel in that pit, in the bottom of that pit when he dewaters. So just again, to the point that we talked about earlier, those bonds become a little bit, you know, of a moving target, if you will, depending on how deep these pits actually become.
Wishes of the board.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Dahl to approve. Is there a second? I'll second it. Discussion? Commissioner Schmalz?
Mr. Chair, in a previous motion, we reduced the bond amount. I'm wondering, why are we picking that one with what we did, and now on this one, we are looking at not reducing the bond amount? I'm a little confused about where the situation we're in right now.
Can I speak to that? Well, I guess I can, I'm the chair, but, my rationalization, which that word I hate, would be the subject came up off that previous permit. Now, I think we have, in fairness, I think we've made our statement, and I think we've beat it to death, quite honestly, and I'm all right if the motion would be either way, but all I'm saying is I don't know how much, until the commission revisits it and clarifies everything. I don't want to be the one to start a precedence, if that's the right word, if that helps at all. That's my view of it. Commissioner Schmalz, you can, I get it. I thought about it myself, but.
So far, Mr. Chair, I'm not being helped with, where my thought process is, and if there are others that can help me through that process, I would appreciate it.
I just put my 2 cents in there. I'm with Nathan. If we did it on one, we better do it on the other, because I don't have anything concrete to say why there's a difference. So we better, I can tell that there's the need to address, in terms of our ordinance down the road, how we're gonna address this. But for now, we better be seeing everybody at the same way, for sure. Because I can't defend changing one versus the other on the exact same day.
What would be the number? Are you able to give that number you did on the other one?
Yeah, it's just half of that.
Just half of that, at $13,000.
So it'd be a $13,000 bond request.
Somebody can amend the motion.
I will make a motion to amend the bond permit to be reduced down to $13,000 instead of the $26,000.
Is there a second to that motion?
I will second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schmalz.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may just add one thing. So what will happen, what I will do at our next planning commission meeting is I will go out and solicit some numbers from contractors in regards to an hourly rate, okay? That's the easy part. The hard part is establishing and how many hours it will take, specifically on a new pit that you're gonna need for reclamation. Because those pits are for a 5-year period of time, then they come back in front of you, depending on how much material they've taken off, and then potentially a 3rd time or a 4th time. So you may be in a situation with that number that it will increase every single time, because we don't necessarily know where the bottom is on that. Typically, when they come in, I ask, have you drilled it? Some of them have, some of them just use the length of their backhoe, the excavator, to see how much material is there and if they've hit bottom yet. So a lot of them at 15 feet, if there's material, they know it's worth their time to go in there for a 5-year permit to be able to open that if they get approval for doing so. So the number, the dollar per hour is, in my words, is very easy to come by, right? It's easy to get through. It's establishing the number without being arbitrary in regards to how many hours it's gonna take to reclaim. So I'm bringing that up not to be adversarial. That's why the ordinance typically, when it's constructed, and we are not alone. Many other counties do the same as we do, where they put a minimum in there. And then it's the responsibility of the board and the planning commission to work through that to try to determine if there's extra that's needed.
All good points for today, and I would hope, the points are all well taken, just so happens we have two today, and we should be consistent on that, and I get that. But I would hope coming forward that after all this is addressed, that would be addressed at the commission as well, when it comes forward to the board. Am I out of line in thinking that this discussion would be covered there? Because, again, you can't do a precedence on if it's really different. Commissioner Dahl, I see your button pressed, but I mean, I'm trying to make some sense out of, it's just, they're not the same pits, obviously.
No. May I?
Go ahead.
So we've got two right before us, what I call a small and I call a large. So there's two differentiates right there. There's two differences, one small, one large. If you want to charge $2,000 for that, you want to charge $4,000 for the other one, that's fine. Come up with some other ways that are simple to look at things, and I think that's just stuff. Mud on the wall. Do what you want with that. But I don't want to make it too complicated, but in the same token, I want to honor what the planning commission is telling us, that it's too low. It's too low. So, and I'm just giving you an idea.
And with that, just to, is that an ordinance, as long as we're in this discussion, is that an ordinance change, or is that just administrative statutory, that's just something you take under your wing when you're having these meetings?
Mr. Chair, if I may, so with that being said, I'm gonna throw one more little monkey wrench into this. The request that you heard the first with Mr. Rickert, he does not have a dewatering permit. So he's pulling the material out of the hole, and he is essentially just dewatering as he's pulling the material and putting it on a pile or loading it. The second one has a dewatering permit. Those play into the factors in regards to how much material they're gonna take out, how deep these become, and what the effort is to be able to get back to that 4-to-1 side slope. So, again, just another example that you don't have two pits that are identical. And I appreciate Commissioner Dahl's comment to that, because that's one of the discussions we will have with the Planning Commission in regards to this, because it is not the number that they should bring forward, because we get into this consistency piece, there is a condition that is to mitigate a potential concern for safety in regards to each and every pit with the site conditions that exist. So those numbers, it's gonna be difficult for those numbers to be consistent, in my opinion.
And again, that was what was a question statement that just should be stated in the request, and that should, if we see a discrepancy in that request, then it's given, we're given our chance to change that if seeing fit. And I wanna know that because it takes quite a bit for me to go into an ordinance, because it opens a can of worms. You push on one and it comes out the other. Excuse that, but that's just the way it works.
Mr. Chair, I have two
Go
things.
ahead.
One, on this point, I would just remind everyone, this ordinance sets the minimum. The Planning Commission is expected to make recommendations based on the actual facts of every, individual application, and then the board has to make the decision based on that entire record. So maybe it's just as simple as a request of getting a little bit more information in the summary or the Planning Commission about why they're recommending the number that they're recommending, so that you feel like you're making an informed and fair decision, which is going to still, the number will vary from applicant to applicant. And then apart from that, just procedurally where we're at before the board now, there's an amendment. There was the original motion. There's since been a motion to amend that motion that received a second. So whenever the question is called, or whenever the vote is had, we should initially be voting on that amendment, which was to reduce the bond amount from $26,000 to $13,000, and then following whatever the result of that motion is, we should return to the original motion and vote. So
Thank you, Ryan. with that, I'll call the question. Now, this is a vote on the amendment to the motion to change it, to $13,000. So all in favor of that motion, say, the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All right, now we'll vote on the actual motion, amended to change it to, from 26,000 to 13,000. And all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
With that, we're gonna take a 5-minute break, or recess.
It is a little chilly.
Ryan have to go through? Okay. Okay, Ryan's not here, but we can, the board is, so we'll call the meeting back to order. Thank you. Gentlemen,
The meeting's gonna continue now.
am I, hello? Just
Yeah.
teasing.
You are existing.
Okay, Hannah?
Yes.
Employee relations.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Still is morning.
It is still the morning, yep. All right, so item A, consider approving the recommendation to appoint Dave Resch to the McLeod County Personnel Board of Appeals through December 31st, 2026. Minnesota Statute 375.65 requires the county board to appoint 3 residents of McLeod County to serve on the Personnel Board of Appeals. Members have staggering terms not to exceed 3 years and are eligible for reappointment. Members may not hold any county office or be employed by the county while serving. The Personnel Board of Appeals provides an independent, impartial body for county employees and applicants to appeal and review certain personnel decisions. The county board is being asked to consider appointing 3 members with staggering initial terms beginning July 7th, today, 2026. Following these initial terms, successors shall serve 3-year terms. And I would like to thank the board for those who made recommendations for the Personnel Committee.
All right, Hannah, just to, you've already covered it, but, and I've been over it with you a couple of times, but for the rest of the board, that is just covered on this first one. That is why these dates are staggered.
That's correct.
So they can be reappointed. I mean, it's all spelled out here, but so we don't have to ask the question on each position. But that's the reason for that, and I think it's a good idea. So as time goes on, we'll be able to, rotate that committee or that board. Wishes of the board.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Comment before I make the motion. I wanted the board to be aware that the Personnel Committee looked at this really diligently and made some modifications along the way. And I think what we're bringing forward now is a really good plan, and I wanted the board to be aware of that and the public as well. So with that, I'll make a motion to move for the request as presented.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz to approve the recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item B, consider approving the Personnel Committee recommendation to appoint Lori Holtberg to the McLeod County Personnel Board of Appeals through December 31st, 2027.
Wishes of the board? Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve Lori Holtberg. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. C.
Thank you. Consider approving the Personnel Committee recommendation to appoint Adam Burkholz to the McLeod County Personnel Board of Appeals through December 31st, 2028.
Move request.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz to approve. Is there a second?
I can second.
Seconded by Commissioner Chotska. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Administration will go into the reviewing of the calendars. I'm gonna cut mine as short as I can. Since our last meeting, I had a Mid-Minnesota board meeting. That was on the 17th and the 23rd. I sat down with the courthouse committee or our engineers, or what is the right word, our study on repairing the courthouse. And we had quite an extensive presentation on where that goes, and more to be heard probably in a workshop as time goes on. I had a HRA meeting on the 24th, and I had a personnel teams meeting on the 25th, discussing some of the things we just got done moving on. I had an ATP a District 8 transportation meeting. That is through Mid-Minnesota, along with Andrew also attends them from our county engineer. Agenda review on the 2nd. I had a meeting with our county attorney, Ryan, and I had numerous meetings during the last couple of weeks with our JD 12 ditch trying to move forward. We have some movement from the railroad on the crossing, and I'm excited about that to see which way we're gonna go. So with that, brings us today, Commissioner Wright.
Yep. Glad to announce that County Road 18 is just a couple days away from being opened. That is gonna be a great road. That project went very well. They're just on the final grade on some driveways and approaches, and striping comes in and the signs get pulled. So I think that was a very, very good project to see done. The rest of my report is a little bit more on just some community things. I'll report first on the Breakfast on the Farm event that was held at our farm a couple weekends ago. We served over 600 plates of pancakes. I want to thank Commissioner Dahl and Commissioner Schmalz for helping. Tom served the sausages in the line, and Nathan poured milk for everybody. So thanks for that. And the weather was gorgeous. The buses just kept dumping people one after the other as fast as they could come out of the parking lot, and it was all the volunteers. It was awesome. We sat back when it was all done, and we're like, nothing went wrong today. It was great, and such a huge thank you to our sponsors for the event and for all those volunteers that came from all over. Made it a success. We will be presenting a check next week at the Hutchinson City Council meeting to the fire department. We ran our event as a fundraiser for grain bin safety needs for the fire department. Grain bins have become a leading cause of death on farms, and to make sure that fire departments are well armed for any of those emergencies is very important. And so we're going to go a long ways on being able to get the equipment and the needs that they came up with on this. So again, thank you everybody for the great event. The next thing is we get asked, "Why are you going to do it again?" And I can tell you that everything got packed into boxes and labeled, and I think it'll come out again. Will it be a yearly event? I don't know, but it was a major pull. It was a lot of fun, yeah. So again, we don't have the dollar figure nailed down exactly yet, as we're still kind of gathering everything up. But next week, I believe it's Tuesday night, we will have the final finances in order for Mr. Schuman to receive a check. On the 4th, joined a community group at the Library Square in Hutchinson to read the Declaration of Independence, which I thought was really, really neat to see community members come, and Hannah led the entire group to sing the national anthem. So I thought that was a pretty cool way to start that particular day. So that's it for me.
I don't have a lot. I did the workshop after our last meeting, and then I became the official sausage person. And no, they would not let me milk a cow. I was banned.
They wouldn't do it?
No, they wouldn't let me do that, so that was off the table. Just want to encourage people that when you see things, like Hannah, you were involved with that, and Paul, you attended, and of course you had the thing at the thing, but remember that if you have some spare time, that there's lots of things that you can do to serve your community.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Commissioner Dahl, for your report. I'll be specific, and on Tuesday, the 16th, we had our county board meeting here, which was followed by a workshop, and then that evening, we had Board of Appeals here on that same eventful day. And then it goes into my next entry on Thursday, the 25th. The Personnel Committee did meet by Teams meeting to go over what we presented today during our board meeting on those appeal recommendations. Was happy to volunteer my services at the Wright Farm, and it was an awesome event. All the pieces fell into place. The weather cooperated, the help, the busing, a lot of moving parts to it. So credit to those, who plan it and carry out that work. it's much appreciated, and it's great to share that support with the community, you know, and how important agriculture is to the community in McLeod County. So I was happy to serve milk, happy to be there. On June 29th was Monday. We had what we call an all-staff CHB workshop right here at the Government Center, and it was a morning-long event. I can't relay who the speaker's name was, but we had a speaker who Zoomed, I believe, from her office in Ohio, presenting us with some ideas on a self-assessment. And then after she was done, it was followed up by two gentlemen from the state of Minnesota, Minnesota Department of Health, epidemiologists. And it was totally interesting to me to hear the report, although it's news that, you know, you don't want to hear, but to get the message on what they're looking at, what they're following, the trends, the immunizations or the lack of immunizations, was a really awesome presentation. I'll share with the public. I mean, I think one of the questions that came from the group was, what's your largest fear as epidemiologists in the state of Minnesota? And they say it's, without a doubt, it's measles. And that's because of an unvaccinated population that we have. And secondly, because it's spread so easily. They say that you can be infected by measles, I believe, 3 hours after everyone's left the room through the air you breathe. So highly contagious, highly infectious. So that's their biggest fear with the population and what they're seeing today. Mr. Chair, I just want to make a comment about this morning's reading of the Declaration of Independence. Thank you to the Silver Lake FFAers who came in to read. When they were giving their reading, I just think of what an awe-inspiring document that can stand for 250 years. And the other thing that impressed me was the age of the people who were presenting the reading. We were already talking about two generations probably past my generation. And then think about how many generations this has been passed down to for 250 years. So just an awe-inspiring event. Thanks to the FFAers for coming in and reading that for us this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Johnson.
After our last night meeting, I didn't have too much. We had the holiday in there, and so on, let's see, Wednesday the 24th, we had planning and zoning, which you guys all heard today, and that was a lengthy conversation there as well. Just so you know, it was again, it's a great group of people to work with, and so we work through things and try and, you know, be as fair as possible, and they understand that things need to change, and so we will be working through that, I'm sure. On the 25th, I was able to attend a little going away party for Connie, which was really nice. Thank you, Sheila. That was great. It was, I think, very well attended and very, very nice. So then after that, I had to run. I had a UCAT meeting. They're finishing up their heating season with their e-heat and that sort of thing. And the tax season is almost complete. I think they said they're still working on a few things yet. But again, that's a great resource for people that need heating assistance, that qualify, that can, you know, they can get their taxes done. And the money that they save them and they get back for these people, it's just astonishing how much they can do. Then on the 29th, I was able to attend. It was supposed to be pizza and music in the park in Hutch, but the weather didn't quite cooperate that day, so we went to Art's Place, and had some pizza, and they had some great music there, so that was kind of fun. And then if anybody is looking for anything to do tonight, Brownton is hosting Fox 9 Town Ball in town in Brownton tonight. The Plato Junior Varsity Legion, Junior Legion, and the Sibley East Junior Legion are playing. And then at 7 o'clock, I think the Bruins and Glencoe play, and they will also be giving their money from the proceeds from their golf tournament to the family that they had chosen for this year. So I was a little late this morning because we had them in our building in Brownton. They were doing some interviews and checking out some things, and so, but they were serving breakfast over at the ball field when I left. So I think those activities maybe start around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Entry's free, ice cream is free, tons of activities for the kids, and just a time to watch Brownton and Glencoe play some baseball. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I would just echo, I'd encourage people to attend tonight. I'm on the baseball, or the Brownton board, the Baseball Association board, so I'll be there working. I was there this morning, and I'll be there this evening again. Or you can tune in to Channel 9. They're doing little interviews and stops around town, meeting with various organization, leaders of organizations, some of the places in town, the Pink Farm at Tungans, some of the other businesses. So some of that'll be aired throughout the day, this morning, this afternoon, and then of course this evening. So again, it's just a good way to take part in those community events. It should be a great time. Other than that, I guess I'll leave it there for the sake of time, but thank you.
Sheila?
Thank you. I don't have anything to add, and only one item. Item A, notification of board workshop following the board meeting on Tuesday, July 21st, 2026, at the McLeod County Government Center here at 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. That's all.
Thank you. I also want to thank Paul for his breakfast on the farm. I mean, obviously for the reasons that were already mentioned, but it's good to see the community involvement, the family, the structure in action, the volunteers that helped. I mean, these are all really good things. I also this weekend had a chance to go just to a neighbor with a large family from up north that kind of took us under their wing, but it's just, it's enlightening to see, they're a big family and they all have lots of children, and it's kind of fun just to sit back and see how, my words on how time used to be. God blessed me with long enough life to see it from all different directions. I mean, I've been through a lot of stuff in my days, not all good, not all bad, but different things, and it's kind of, it's a blessing that I get to see the changes in our, and now the birthday of our country at 250 years. It's just, I hope some people all stop and take note of what this country went through with the Declaration of Independence this morning, and followed up with the Constitution and how much work went in, and it still stands. And I mean, we're going to have our challenges, but with things like Glencoe and Silver Lake FFA coming today, it gives me and a lot of people some hope for our young people. And I also can't go without thanking Rebecca, the advisor to the Glencoe Silver Lake chapter. She helped me out, and with that, again, thanks, and happy birthday, USA. Anybody else wish to address the board in open forum? Press relations, do you have anything? Kept you here for a few hours today too, so. With that, I will entertain a motion to recess. Our next board meeting will be at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, July 21st, 2026 at the McLeod County Government Center here at 520 Chandler Avenue North in Glencoe, Minnesota.
Move recess, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Schmalz, seconded by
So moved. Second.
Dahl. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, we're recessed. We can just take a couple of minutes. I think we have kind of a short workshop here.
One item, right?